Good morning. I'm Christine Hannell, Assistant Director of Recreation and Community Services. And on behalf of the City of Cupertino, I would like to welcome you all to our 8th Leadership 95014 graduation ceremony. Yay! This year's group has worked very hard, and I think you're going to find the topics for their group presentations are quite interesting this year. I know I can't wait to hear what they have to say. Before we get started, I would like to acknowledge a few people in the room. First of all, I'd like for those of you that are graduates of this program to stand. I'm recognizing a number of past program participants. Yes. Thank you. I think there's about 6 of us, and I know more will be coming in. I'm always happy to see each and every one of you, and I appreciate the ongoing commitment to this program. I'd also like to acknowledge Council Member Rod Sinks, who's here in the room. Thank you for coming again this year, and I believe that Mayor Darcy Paul will be joining us later. And without further ado, I would like to introduce Min Lee with the Wilfred Jarvis Institute. Min was on the original planning committee for this program, along with myself and several other folks. But Min is the individual that really leads this group. He is a valuable partner to us here at the city, and everybody in the program, I think, can all agree that one of their favorite parts about this program is the relationships and the connections they make with men. So we are glad to have you back as our partner during this 8th year, and I'd like to introduce to you Min Lee.
Wow, it's graduation day. So I thought I would take a moment to remind the graduates of the journey that we've been on together for 9 months. This program started in September with a 2-day retreat, at which time we did some work together on personal and interpersonal leadership. And you might recall coming into the room with your 7-minute talk that you had prepared carefully and you practiced, and you got to deliver your 7-minute story of your life to your classmates. We spent that time to talk about values, emotions, and motivations that drove each one of us. We examined the positive and the negative energies that are within each of us. We talked about how to take responsibility for our energies, how to maximize the constructive and creative energies, what to do when you're in the red, right? So when your energies are disruptive or destructive, how to develop more personal resources so that you could handle more stress without going into the red. And we looked at the aspects of mind, the logical and the emotional mind, and the interplay between the two. We discussed Aristotle's teachings of ethos, pathos, and logos, how to have positive influence on other people. We examined the 4 different models of relationship. The 3 that didn't work were hostility, neutrality, and identification, and the one that does the best job for relationships was called empathy. We looked at study cases, we examined videos, we did exercises, we had discussions with one another. We also talked about how to lead up, that our bosses and the people above us in organizations are human beings too. And there were numerous measurements that we got to do for ourselves, the personal resources checklist, the dimensions of empathy, for example. Everyone also got to attend a separate supervisory leadership training session where we looked at the elements of performance. You might recall The two elements had to do with energies and skills, and the two together create your job efficiency or your level of performance, and the 4 degrees of control that you as a supervisor would assert in order to achieve the best possible outcomes. In every situation, there were case studies that we examined, and you also got to see your personal tendencies, right? Then every month when we got together, and there were lots to study, things about the school districts, things about local government, things about the environment, about local businesses, about our first responders, about our nonprofit sector, voluntary opportunities, and so forth. But each month we also had an hour, sometimes a little more than that, to reinforce the practice, right? The practices of going from the red into the black, the practices of resolving conflicts, the practices of building self-awareness and reflection and regulation, the practice of sharing yourselves within a community, the mindfulness practices, including mindful listening. We looked at how do you take leadership in challenging times. We discussed, reviewed the hero's journey, and each of you had a wonderful opportunity at the end of the course to develop a written statement of mission, purpose, and values for yourself. So finally this afternoon, actually after the graduation, you may have seen the equipment in the lobby there. We're going to sit down with our classmates and we get a chance to hear from them. They'll finally get a chance to tell us, each of us, what they'd like to recommend for us to keep doing, stop doing, and start doing. And then also at the very end, we will elect 2 people who will become class coordinators. They're sort of like the leaders that we looked up to in the class, and we'll depend on them to carry the flag for the class. They actually joined the steering committee to guide the future direction of this program, but they will also take responsibility for bringing the community together, right? To organize class gatherings and reunions and keep people connected, right? So that's the journey we've been on, and today we're at the end of it, but as many people have said to me over the last 8 years, the most important takeaway they have from this program are the relationships that they formed with their classmates, with people from so many different sectors. And those relationships will live on, and they will support you as you go about in your neighborhood, in your community, in your civic engagement activities. So in a way, this is really just the beginning. So let's get this program going. Christine is going to introduce the groups and their projects.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Min. I should mention that this year's class has representatives from Santa Clara County Sheriff's Office, the City of Cupertino, West Valley Community Services, El Camino Hospital, Recology, Santa Clara County Fire Department. We have a city commissioner, and we also have a representative from the Santa Clara County Library District. So it's a very diverse group, and I'm excited to hear about their topics today. The 3 topics we'll be hearing today are and I'll ask the first group to come on up. We have the Dog Friendly Community will be the first topic, followed by Balanced Cupertino, a citywide campaign. And the last group presentation will be on teen stress, identifying challenges and possible solutions. The first group today, and every group after, will be allocated approximately 30 minutes. They'll be doing approximately a 20 to 25 minute presentation followed by a Q&A. So please hold your questions until the end, and then we will pass around the mic and we can handle those questions. I would like to introduce in Group 1, Richard Alanis, Laurel Henderson, Ari Latanzi, Jamie McAvoy, and Robert McCoy.
Good morning. Thank you for coming. So our group is focusing on how to make Cupertino a more dog-friendly community and encourage residents to have safe and fun interactions with dogs. So why should Cupertino be dog-friendly? Based on national statistics on the percentage of households with dogs and the number of dogs per household, we estimate there are around 12,000 dogs in Cupertino. It could be a little bit different based on Cupertino's demographics, but that's a lot of dogs. And it's now actually more likely that households will have dogs instead of children. So that's just something to keep in mind as we grow our community and develop our community relations. It's also been shown through various studies that people with dogs are more likely to know, trust, and help out their neighbors. So dog owners and spaces for people with dogs, where people can meet dogs, are really important to building that fabric of the community. So we have a number of ideas we want to share with you, starting with an off-leash dog certification program and enforcement, dog body language and safe interaction training, pop-up dog parks, therapy dog visits at the teen center or other places in Cupertino, and a neighborhood dog watch and walk program. So my name is Ariel Latanzi. I am with the city of Cupertino, and I wanted to focus on off-leash dog areas. So Cupertino has one off-leash dog area currently. It's the Mary Avenue Dog Park, but it doesn't meet the needs of all users. We've heard that it doesn't have enough space for large dogs to really run around and get all that energy out, and it's hard to get to in times of traffic. So there's a community group in the Jollyman Park neighborhood that has proposed an unfenced off-leash dog area for the hour before sunrise and hour after sunset. It's currently under review by the Parks and Rec Commission, but we know that there has been some community opposition. Back in 2009, a survey showed that 70% of people in the neighborhood opposed it, and 50% of people surveyed in the park still opposed it. So there are current efforts to really understand what the community wants and what the concerns are. However, based on what we've heard, we think that we can identify some of those concerns and start to try to mitigate that. So we do know that there are a lot of dogs in Cupertino, but there are only 813 dogs currently registered and licensed according to the laws. So there are definitely a lot of dogs in Cupertino that are not currently licensed, and in order to get that license, you need a current rabies vaccine. So if we could really make sure that all these dogs who are off-leash and just in the community are licensed, we think that would go a long way towards reassuring the community that these dogs, have been up to date on their vaccines. So it would be great if we could maybe utilize our block leader program or other community networks to really get the word out and reinforce that this is an important part of dog ownership. We also have seen some other cities that have a formal kind of program for off-leash dogs so that they are really held to a high standard. So I want to show a short video clip from the city of Boulder, who has an off-leash program for their parks and trails. Hopefully this works. I promise it worked earlier.
Voice and sight control is a tough standard for both dogs and guardians. The elements of the law include: the voice and sight tag must be visibly displayed on your dog at all times. You must be in a voice and sight designated area. Dogs must be under control by using voice and visual commands and within your sight at all times, regardless of any distraction you may encounter. In addition, your dog must always come to you and stay with you, the guardian, immediately upon your command. Your dog must never charge, chase, or otherwise display aggression towards any person, or behave in any way that any reasonable person may find harassing or disturbing. Your dog must also never charge, chase, or otherwise display aggression towards any dog. And your dog must never chase, harass, and disturb wildlife or livestock. Another requirement is that no more than 2 dogs may be under voice and sight control per guardian at any time. And finally, dog guardians are required to have a leash in their possession for each dog at all times.
All right, so that's just a quick overview of what the City of Boulder requires of their owners. And the way that they do their program, they have the owners come to an hour-long training so that they know that the owners at least understand the regulations. There isn't actually a test or any sort of training program for the dogs, but there are rangers in the parks who do enforce the regulation. So for Cupertino, we have a very tech-savvy population, and we know that people are busy. So rather than having people come in person in order to understand the regulations, maybe we could do an online form and a quiz to ensure comprehension, just so that we know people understand what's expected of them and the standards that we want to hold them to. And also we could offer, if people know that their dogs aren't quite up to that standard, we could offer some programs that are reputable and in the area through our Parks and our Recreation and Community Service catalog. As for enforcement, the community has expressed an interest in self-policing, but there does need to be some sort of system in place for any complaints or escalation. So I will turn that over to my teammate, Rick.
Thank you, Ari, and welcome everyone. My name is Rick Alanis, and I'm a sergeant with the Santa Clara County Sheriff's Office. It may come as a little bit of a surprise to all of you, but I will be covering the enforcement aspect of a dog-friendly Cupertino. So in order to have a dog-friendly Cupertino, enforcement has to be used as a last resort. However, we also must understand that the enforcement of rules is in place to ensure the safety of everyone involved with this type of idea. The most effective way to accomplish this reality is to handle issues that pop up at the lowest level possible. We want dog owners to feel confident that their participation will not end with a citation or worse. And on the other hand, we also want those who are uncomfortable with this type of idea to have the confidence that they have a course of action to address undesired behaviors. So let's take a common scenario. Fido comes along, and once he's off leash, he decides he's going to bolt towards other dogs and people in a park. This would obviously make people uncomfortable and even scared. So how do we handle this? It's actually quite easy. The worst case scenario, Fido becomes violent and an emergency response is required. The Sheriff's Office and Animal Control will respond and handle the situation according to law if there's any laws broken. On the other hand, let's say Fido isn't violent, but he's aggressive and he's making people uncomfortable. This is a situation where animal control and code enforcement can handle this situation swiftly. They can work with the dog owner and guide them to educational resources and classes and help them with Fido to get him either properly registered or trained to curb this type of behavior. Ideally, the dog owner would respond to this type of these type of suggestions. However, if we have repeat offenders, those people need to be dealt with properly with either a citation or criminal prosecution so that the community would feel better about this type of idea taking place. Ultimately, the goal is to educate the community by offering courses through the Recreation and Community Development Division, as well as having animal control officers on site periodically as a resource for community members to answer any questions or concerns that they may have. And now I'd like to introduce Laurel to the podium.
I'm still Ari, I'm not Laurel, but we have one more slide. So we do recognize that there are a lot of households that own dogs in Cupertino, but there are also a lot of households where people are growing up or haven't had much chance to interact with dogs. And that's sometimes when problems arise because people can't read dog body language and don't really know when a dog is asking for space or when a dog doesn't really want to be touched. So we just want to make sure that there is also a resource for people to really understand before they go and meet a dog and put their face in the dog's face, how to read that dog body language and get a better basis for that interaction to make sure that it's safe and fun. So it would really be great if we could offer a free class through the Recreation and Community Services course catalog, and maybe bring this kind of training to the dog park areas or to the teen center, and just make sure that people have the opportunity to have safe and fun interactions with dogs. And now I will give it to Laurel to talk about PopUp Dog Parks.
Sure. Oh, hi.
No worries.
Thank you. This is a fun perk I didn't know I was going to have. So I am Laurel Henderson, and I work for the Cupertino Union School District as a coordinator of instruction. And I am going to talk today about the idea of pop-up dog parks. So in the United States, there are about 73 million dogs, and they live in the homes of about 50 million families. And about 60% of those families have one dog, and about 25 have two, and about 15 have three or more, which we have two. I'm good. But I think that the statistic shows, as we're talking about this, the need for opportunities for dogs to have exercise and play. Dogs do require an outlet for all of their energy and to alleviate boredom and reduce destructive behavior. And as the owner of a 9-month-old puppy who eats throw pillows for snacks, I can vouch for that, because when we come home, even after a little while, we know she needs a lot of energy, that outlet for that. And so we are an advocate for what we're talking about here. Ohlone Dog Park in Berkeley, which has actually since been renamed, was the first official dog park recognized in the United States. It was dedicated in 1979, and since then, thousands of dog parks have come to cities across the United States. And there's a nonprofit called the Trust for Public Land, which does a study every year and compiles data on the 100 biggest cities in our nation. And through their survey, they have found that dog parks are the fastest growing amenity in those largest city parks. And so it's a recognized need that's growing. And when they look at it, they look at the number of dog parks per 100,000 residents. So across the United States, cities actually the number one city with the highest number is Boise. So Boise, Idaho has a lot of dog parks. And from there, Portland, Henderson, Nevada, I thought was interesting. And then in California, San Francisco is 8th, Sacramento is 17th, San Jose is 46th across the nation in number of dog parks possible. And we know that it's important, but when we look at our cities and look at the space and cost available, sometimes it's just not feasible. So here comes the idea of the pop-up dog park. So what is that idea about? It's a planned and dedicated area where responsible pet owners can take their dogs and have them off leash. It's a chance to socialize, but it's a mobile setup using temporary fencing and a double gate system, so the dogs are safe and secure inside of that mobile structure. Oftentimes it's divided into two areas for large and small dogs, just as a permanent dog park would be. It's free and open to the public to attend. It's usually on existing parkland or possibly open unused space. And there's very creative partnering that's been seen with pet stores, vet clinics, and even adoption events that take place at the pop-up dog parks, so that dogs who need homes can be brought into a family. The picture that's shown, PetSmart, the pet store, has actually partnered in several areas, and what you see there is a shipping crate, which they have turned into the entrance for the dog park, so that the people can enter safely, the dogs can enter calmly, and they also bring all of the supplies. So that is more of a corporate partnership, but oftentimes it's linked with a farmer's market that's existing, or a community event, and it's a smaller area. And there are many successful examples of this across the United States. Seattle, Denver, Sacramento has a great example. But the whole goal is to increase the dog-friendly communication amongst community members, help nurture a very strong bond between the owners and the pets, and the owners between each other. It's portable, sustainable, and really fun, and it makes our cities even better for pets. I'll turn it over to our next teammate. Thank you for letting me help.
So hi, I'm Jamie McAvoy. I work in business services with Santa Clara County Fire, and today I'd like to talk to you a little bit about animal-assisted therapy, which Hannah is helping us out with, keeping us calm up here. Documentation of animal-assisted therapy actually goes back to as far back as the 1700s. You can find writings by Florence Nightingale and the benefits that she found during her tenure as a nurse with her patients, the use of animals. Freud wrote about the benefits of animals in therapy. Back in the 60s, there's documentation by child psychologists and psychiatrists, the benefits of animals with nonverbal children, as the children actually attempted to communicate with the animals that were in session with them. You had enough of being passed around, huh? Animal therapy has actually been scientifically proven to reduce anxiety, depression, cardiovascular disease, assist with the development of empathy, independence, and communication. It's also sometimes with children helps them learn responsibility as well. There are many facilities across the country, Alzheimer's, dementia facilities, for example, that do use therapy animals in their facilities to calm and engage their residents. They use dogs, cats. I've actually read articles on chickens being used in retirement facilities and Alzheimer's facilities. Actually, any animal can really be, not any animal, I mean, not a lot of therapy fish, but there are therapy lizards, therapy horses, therapy birds. I think I read something, a gentleman tried to go through the airport with his companion peacock, and that was an issue. But here we're talking about the benefit of therapy dogs. There are actually quite a few volunteer groups across the country that provide animal therapy. If you're more interested in therapy dogs, the American Kennel Club actually has a whole list. I won't click on it, but you can Google the American Kennel Club, and they have a long list of recognized animal therapy groups in your area. And we want to see how we can bring these services to the city of Cupertino. Is this something, can we have an animal therapy site at the teen center, at the community center? Can we bring them into our schools and the very competitive Cupertino schools that we have? They're even being used in some of the more controversial crying rooms at businesses today. They have animals in the rooms to help people alleviate that stress and that pressure that they're feeling. One of our local groups, and we have Hannah and Lisa here today, is Furry Friends Pet Assisted Therapy Service. And they're representatives today. I'm holding Hannah, in case you guys were wondering. They're an example of local groups. They bring their pets throughout the county, actually. They're all throughout San Jose, San Mateo, and Santa Cruz County. We want to bring them in, try to possibly have our teen center be a site for animal therapy. So pretty much they would interview us and see what our needs are for animals and see if that's something they feel that we can work together on for our children or our adults, whoever need these services. And then if you're actually interested in having your animal become a therapy animal, you can actually reach out to Furry Friends and through your veterinarian, have a temperament analysis, I guess, have them checked. And then if they're approved, they take etiquette classes through the organization, and then you can work together to bring those services out into the community. Thank you so much, Lisa and Hannah, for joining us today and keeping us calm on stage. And she will be available if you have any questions about the organization. So thank you guys very much. I'm going to pass this on to Rob.
Good morning. My name is Robert McCoy. I'm currently the Vice Chair of the Cupertino Public Safety Commission. And what I'd like to talk to you today about is a neighborhood dog walk and watch program that we feel could serve this community greatly. Recently, we know that the state of California has been experiencing a major increase in the amount of crime occurred, and Cupertino has felt this. Especially in the property crimes. And these are crimes that are basically residential and vehicle burglaries and also package thefts. And it's all too common nowadays that on social media we see our residents complaining about they have become a victim. And data shows over a 10-year period that a majority of these crimes are committed between 9 a.m. and 7 p.m. Monday through Sunday. We have the Santa Clara County Sheriff's Department working 24 hours a day. The brave men and women put their life on the line to defend our rights to be here as well as our property. Here you see recovered property that was stolen by thefts. And also on the other side, you see a recent apprehension of a 4-man burglary crew that hit our city 2 weeks ago. But no matter what they do, these crimes still occur. And we propose for your consideration starting a neighborhood dog walk and watch program. And we believe that by combining the love for their dog and a healthy activity, residents can also at the same time act as a deterrent by creating and showing a presence in their community and reporting suspicious activities as needed. Now, who would be perfect for this? Stay at home, people at home during those hours, recent retirees, and look at this stay-at-home dad. I'm sure he would welcome to go take a walk, right? So how can we do this? We would draft a proposal and present it to council for their consideration. We would work with city staff and the sheriff's department to develop training materials and guidelines, and we would promote and recruit people that would like to be part of this program. We believe that by working together, we all can make a difference. This is my daughter, Madeline, approving this program. Thank you.
There were a few other things that came up as thoughts during this time that we didn't have time to research, but some further things to think about, as we are moving towards a society where people are more likely to have pets than kids. Maybe we need to think about pet-friendly housing and incentives and guidelines. Obviously, we do need to focus on getting dogs registered, and that also includes our cat population, and creating more opportunities for dogs to go out with the family in different business settings. So things we didn't have time to focus on, but some thoughts that came up in this process. Oops. And as you can see, Cupertino has already started the work to become a dog-friendly city because the lovely Molly James, who helped facilitate our program, did this pooch plunge where on the last day the pool was open, dogs got to go for a swim, and benefits went to the canine victims of hurricanes. So if you have any questions, comments, or suggestions, we welcome them.
Are there any questions? Okay. I'll bring the mic over to you. Thank
you. I have a question about the pop-up pet, I forgot what the name of it. Dog park, the pop-up dog park. How does that work with code enforcement? Is there any research that's been done on that? I'm wondering, it sounds like a great idea. I'm wondering how difficult the implementation process is with that.
So the research that was done in the cities that have already started them, they did work closely with their representatives in their cities. I would have to rely on our experts for that, but I'm happy to get back to you and research that a little bit. Yeah, absolutely.
I think in Cupertino it would go through the event process, so then code enforcement would be notified that would be happening. There might be some insurance requirements, but I think it's also not an off-leash pop-up area. It would be fenced. So it wouldn't be dogs. That would be a separate program from the off-leash, unfenced dog areas.
Any other questions for the group?
Will Lisa and Hannah be available to the other two groups to help manage their anxiety at presentation?
Lisa has generously offered to be able to stay a little bit longer. Lisa and Hannah have been offered to other groups, and I haven't gotten a lot of people taking me up on it, but now that you've seen her in action, you'll be asking for her.
She also gives a very reassuring high five, so.
Any other questions? Helene.
Hi, I'm Helene Davis. I'm on the Parks and Rec Commission, and I just wanted to say thank you for this presentation. I've been very interested in this issue for several years. My dog has since passed, but you mentioned it briefly, just about sort of the sense of community that neighbors develop when they own a dog and they're out interacting. Any other comments or research that you did on that you would like to address?
So I did find statistical studies in scientific journals that assessed, they call it social capital. So basically they interviewed people and assessed whether a respondent had a dog or not, and then their response on how likely they were to feel a sense of community, how likely they were to feel like their neighbors would help them, how likely they were to help their neighbors. So it showed a pretty strong correlation between owning a dog, or owning any pet actually, and then having that stronger community connection and that willingness to help others. I think there's a lot of anecdotal evidence to support this, but I was able to find scientific studies to support it as well.
Okay, group one, thank you so much. I'm feeling much more calm now, so we're going to take a 5-minute break. Group two, go ahead and get ready up on stage. Thank you. Thank you, Hannah.
Your son wants to get a cat, but you're allergic. Do you A, prepare yourself, B, make the best of it,
C squared equals 25. Good job!
or C, find a loophole? When it comes to parenting, there are no perfect answers, but that's okay, because you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Mom.
Visit aarp.org/caregiving for information on how to provide even better care for the person who wants to care of you.
Hey, let's check out this park. Oh, wow, that's really cool. To find a great local park or forest near you, go to discovertheforest.org.
Every year, 40% of all food in the U.S. never gets eaten.
40%. That's almost half the food we produce.
Food waste is a serious problem. It impacts all of us.
And it's expensive. Your family is throwing $1,500 a year in the trash.
We're working hard to put food waste on the chopping block.
And you can do the same at home.
Learn how to cook it, store it, and share it.
Just don't waste it.
Go to savethefood.com.
(150/90).
180 over 111.
160 over 110. I had a stroke.
This is what high blood pressure looks like. You might not feel its symptoms, but the results from a stroke are far from invisible or silent. If you've come off your treatment plan, get back on it, or talk with your doctor to create an exercise, diet, and medication plan that works for you. Go to loweryourhbp.org.
If I would have followed a treatment plan, I would not be in this situation.
Take a look under your bed. Find stuff under there? What about jobs? No? Now try your closet. Still no jobs? Just more stuff? Well, you really have both. See, stuff is defined as household articles considered as a group. Sometimes this stuff is no longer needed. Wait, no longer needed? That can't be right. Because remember those jobs you were looking for? Those are really needed. And they're the stuff inside your stuff. Our job is to unlock those jobs. And it starts when you donate your stuff to your local Goodwill. Here's how we do it. When you donate to Goodwill, we sell your stuff to provide job training for people right here in your community. So just by teaming up with Goodwill, you help create jobs. And isn't that worth parting with the leftover keytar from your 80s cover band? Goodwill. Donate stuff, create jobs.
Okay, I would like to congratulate Group 1 on a great presentation. I really enjoyed the topic, and I think you provided the Recreation Department with some wonderful ideas for some future events. Next up, we have Group number 2, and they will be presenting Balanced Cupertino, a Citywide Campaign.
Good morning, and thank you for being here this morning. My name is Stephen Lopez. I'm a sergeant with the Santa Clara County Sheriff's Office, and I'd like to introduce my colleagues in this proposal, and Ms. Casey Piedad of the Santa Clara County Fire Department, a Mr. Joe Leva of Recology, a Ms. Katie Nomura of the City of Cupertino, and a Ms. Adriana Stankovic of the Cupertino Senior Center. It is our honor and privilege to present to you the concept and campaign for a balanced Cupertino. If I may be so bold, I'd like to think that many of you have felt the effects of stress in your everyday life, kind of like I am right now. Whether you're a De Anza student, a Monte Vista student, an Apple employee, a Seagate employee, a city employee, or one of our first responders, we all must balance and struggle with the stress in our life. The fast-paced city of Cupertino, the heart of Silicon Valley, emphasizes hard work and achieving accomplishments at that workplace. However, that sometimes can take a toll when we lose perspective as far as our off-duty or out-of-work time and our workplace time. The Center for Disease Control defines job stress and stress in general as harmful and physical emotional responses that occur when requirements of the job do not match the capabilities, resources, or needs of the worker. Job stress can lead to poor health and even injury. I didn't make that up. Center of Disease Control. According to one study, 40% of employees found their job extremely stressful. Another study conducted found that almost 8 out of 10 Americans experience significant stress through the workplace, and that's universal. A 2017 study, and this is telling, found that 52% of people felt more stressed than they did the year prior, which is incredibly applicable to the community in which we live. Employees suffering from these high levels of stress have been found to not be as engaged, leading to less productivity, more absenteeism, and the scariest thing, they may develop illnesses ranging from fatigue, depression, all the way up to hypertension. That same Center for Disease Control, actually the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health, found that while working conditions play the primary role in causing job stress, individual factors also play a significant role. And these factors range from having a relaxed and positive outlook to having a support network of friends and coworkers, all the way up to having a balance between work and family and personal life issues. Essentially, what this is showing is that all of us will experience stress, whether it be job-related stress, family stress, outside factors, that will contribute to our stress. The individual and situational factors may either deflect that stress or may actually exacerbate that stress and make it worse. Stress is universal. We all feel it, not just in work and school. Other factors and responsibilities also contribute to this stress. Cupertino citizens are feeling. To address some of these other outside work and school factors, I'd like to introduce Ms. Stankovic.
So an additional layer to this work stress is a growing number of people are also caring for family members. And in 2014, approximately 43.5 million people were providing unpaid care to a family member. And 34.2 million of those people were providing care to an adult 50 or older. 40% of caregivers consider themselves to be in a high-stress, high-burden situation, and 92% of those caregivers are providing care for over 20 hours a week. There is an average of 24.4 hours a week provided by people providing unpaid care. That's like having a second part-time job on top of already a full-time job, which, as we know here, high cost of living, it requires 2-income households. In addition to that, nearly 1 in 4 people are providing care more than 21 hours a week, so a second full-time job on top of a job that's already stressful, as my colleague has stated. And it's estimated that informal caregivers provide about 80% of long-term care in cases of illnesses such as dementia, specifically the Alzheimer's type dementia. And those caregivers are typically spouses and adult children. A 2003 study looked at over 3,000 participants and showed that of these caregivers, 23% had higher level of stress hormones, and at the same time, 15% lower antibody responses than non-caregivers. So this then in turn leads to high stress, which leads to high blood pressure, high glucose levels, which in turn leads to higher risk of diseases like hypertension and diabetes. In addition to these issues, there are also poor immune responses to people who are vulnerable to, so people become invulnerable to infections such as the flu, even after having a flu shot. And caregivers typically have their own chronic illnesses as well related to caregiving, and it's shown that 63% of caregivers have a higher mortality rate than their non-caregiving peers. Now, there are a lot of resources available to help caregivers deal with this stress, and Katie will go into how they can take advantage of these resources to take advantage of our campaign, which we will be discussing. And these resources include organizations that can help pay for respite care for people who can't afford to pay caregivers, such as the Alzheimer's Association, Sourcewise, Hilarity for Charity, and Home Supportive Services. And there's also organizations such as Live Oak right here in Cupertino and Rose Kleiner Center in Mountain View who provide adult daycare so people can get that break. And assistance with these resources can be easily found at the Senior Center. So I will hand it over to Katie now, who will discuss our campaign in more detail.
Great. So now that we know that we have stress at work, we have stress at school, we possibly have stress at home, what do we do about it? So we propose, let's bring all of these resources into one place, one clearinghouse where we can go and find out what's available to us, what is out there that I can take advantage of, and also what are some things that I could implement in my own life or in my workplace or at my school or at home that's gonna help me out to achieve this balanced lifestyle. And so in that, we propose a balanced Cupertino citywide campaign. And so what this would entail is kind of having this shift in mindset and in culture to prioritize a balanced lifestyle. So I know that currently, we're very high-tech, fast-paced. We have Apple, there's a lot of drivers who want to do and go, and how much can I pull out of myself? So what we want to promote now is let's change that culture, let's change that mindset to be more focused on how can I take care of me, so that I can be a better person for my community? How can I take care of myself? How can I take care of my family so that we can all collectively be better as a whole? And so we don't want to continue to pursue overworking ourselves at our jobs and at school and at these places so that we don't have enough energy or resources to give to the areas of our lives that need it the most. We want to be able to provide energy and attention to our families, the people we need to care for, things that we love, volunteering, being able to give of yourself in a way that's maybe outside of these areas we've focused on for so long. And so we want to change this, whole mindset around this to show that I can be successful, I can be dedicated, I can be hardworking, but I can still have a great life. I can still feel less stress. I can still feel like I have a great home life and I have a great job life. I have a great school life and just a great life in general. So that's kind of the whole heart behind Balanced Cupertino, what we want to promote and how we want to engage the community. So what's great about having a campaign is generally it's lower cost. There's not a lot involved other than promoting it, getting the word out, maybe some social media, which we'll talk about later, and maybe promoting it at some events, having a little bit of tabling, a website for resources, just making it more accessible and creating awareness in the community to help engage and get people involved. And so I'm gonna hand it off to Casey to go into our social media portion.
Thank you, Katie. How are we going to find a balance? We're going to use social media. We're going to use our phones, which you're thinking we're trying to get you away from, which we will ultimately, but we want to get you online. We want to get you to use all these resources that all these wonderful companies have offered us, all the great apps, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, all of that. So yes, we are going to ask you to get on your phones and then get out and get away from your phones. So how can we go about doing that? We can share, we can post. We're a society of sharing. Please keep those dog and cat videos coming, your 1-minute recipes. I still want to see all of those, but we all want to see what each other is doing. Are you going on a hike with your family this weekend? Did you go to Blackberry Farms and rent some picnic tables? Did you get out and go for a walk? Are you reading a great new book? These are all things that we can share with each other, and we can hopefully inspire others around us to be doing other things outside of work. So this is a great way to see what others in your community are doing and get ideas for yourself. I know I see people all the time posting all these spin classes. I'm not huge on biking and spin, but it almost makes me feel like I want to do it. So hopefully by you seeing other people doing all these great things, maybe you want to get out and do it too. So for example, we've got some pictures here of people who've posted on Instagram, and the Balanced Cupertino page has either reposted them or shared some good ideas here local to Cupertino, what you can do. As I mentioned, getting out to Blackberry Farm. I personally don't live in the city of Cupertino and wasn't very familiar with the city prior to being a part of this program, but my family and I have actually come and visited Cupertino more often now because now I know what is available to me, and thanks to all my colleagues in the class, I know about Blackberry Farm. Main Street Cupertino has a lot of really great opportunities for restaurants, and just it's beautiful buildings and architecture. It's great to just get outside and see what we have available to us. So hopefully by people sharing with each other, it might give you some ideas of what you might want to do with your family, friends, or colleagues. Social media allows us to socialize. It allows us to get some ideas to where we want to go, maybe get out, socialize with each other. Maybe you just need a day to yourself. That's totally fine. I do that sometimes. Get out and meet people in your community. Meet local business owners. Get out and support those local businesses. There are so many wonderful places that you probably aren't even aware about if you don't get out and check it out. Again, like I mentioned, new hobbies, spin class, yoga, pottery class, all sorts of stuff. The City of Cupertino, through their Parks and Recreation Department, has so many wonderful opportunities for you to get out and explore the city, all the cities around us also. We really should be taking more advantage of those things and helping us to find a balance and stress from our work. And also, getting together, I love organizing things. I don't know if you guys do, but I love getting a group together. Hey, let's go do this. Let's go for a walk. I have coworkers who during their breaks will go together for a walk for 5 or 10 minutes. Just getting away from those stressors is really, really good for you. So again, connecting with each other, using Instagram, using Twitter, using Facebook, hashtagging Balanced Cupertino. That allows you to click on that little link and search what other people are doing who have also used that same hashtag. So again, just trying to, get out there and see what we have available to us. And so what I'd like to do now is pass this over to Joe, who's going to go a little more into our business aspect, where we basically are going to be suggesting weekly local meetups that hopefully the city of Cupertino would promote through their social media, that the Balance Cupertino program would be advertising as well, just to really support our community members getting outside and engaging with each other within this community.
Good morning. Local businesses and how they'll be a part of the program. So we've canvassed around town to many of the local businesses here in Cupertino, looking to gauge the interest level of those who are willing to participate in any way, shape, or form. Basically explaining to them we're in this leadership program, we're working on this project in hopes of it turning into a city program. Here you can see a few examples of the businesses we've spoken to who are already really interested in being a part of the Balance Cupertino, simply based on the outlined ideas that we presented to them, with many other local businesses who are looking to hear more information on what Balance Cupertino is all about. And should the program take off, we're confident there will be many other businesses who are willing to participate. We could even host a table over the several festivals the city throws throughout the year, and that basically would get the word out about the program as well. And we've created different levels of participation, so no matter how much dedication one business is willing to be a part of, there's an option for all of them. First, simply being listed on our link and social media pages. We'll have a page that lists the local Cupertino businesses that residents may or may not be aware of. This is an easy way for the business to be seen by the residents, and it doesn't put any onus or obligation on the business. It simply puts their name out there. Second, we would have offer local discounts, group discounts, for example. Get together with a group of 3 or more people using promo code Balance Cupertino. Receive 20% off at Homestead Bowl, or whatever the participating business is willing to offer. Another example, as Casey described earlier, would be using hashtag Balance Cupertino in our social media posts to qualify for select offers. For example, take a photo of you and your friends playing basketball in the park, post it to Instagram or Twitter or Facebook using the hashtag Balance Cupertino tag, and then tag the Balance Cupertino account, and then you receive a promo code to Aloha Fresh or one of the participating businesses. This gets the businesses involved with the community while staying profitable, and it requires little to no effort to manage on their end. Third would be event hosting. We would partner with a business, host a specific day or night where residents who show how they find balance throughout the day by posting to our links and social media page can all meet up and share and engage in the community in one location. For example, a business can host Yoga and Yogurt Wednesday, where they post their yoga and workout, and they just hashtag Yo-Yo Wednesday. And at Yogurtland, they'll offer like 50% discount Wednesday, 3 to 6. Just present your photo and your hashtag, and you'll get that discount. Events of that nature, something fun, something for the community to get involved in, and it just gets them out and sharing with others who will also share and get them in the mix. For example, another example, a business can host a specific day or night where they host large community tables for attendees, and they can share and engage amongst each other, bringing the people into the business and away from the busy lives and away from all the stress at home and at work and at school. This gets the residents in the building, and it shows the business's connection to the community while increasing the profitability as well. The final option would be a business to become a certified Balance Cupertino business, and Katie will describe all that for you.
Great. So another option we have for businesses to participate is by having a certified balanced business program in Cupertino. Similar to our award-winning green business program, we would go through with the businesses some best practices that they could implement in order to become a more balanced business. Some of those include providing flexible work hours when possible, promoting short breaks during the day, which they should be doing anyway, ensuring adequate, see, it wouldn't be hard to become certified. You should just do the right thing. Ensure adequate staffing to not overwork a short-staffed team. Allow unpaid time off for life events. These are things that a business could really do. So just some examples of what a larger program could implement, but by becoming a certified balanced business, it would benefit the business by having recognition, being certified, having lower stress in the workplace, and increased productivity, as well as being in a more attractive place to work.
So in summation, the goal of this campaign would be to mitigate some of the unhealthy factors that come into play when we are stressed, such as hypertension, low productivity, illnesses and absences, even a higher mortality rate. And the Balanced Cupertino campaign would change the culture. It could be low cost. It would engage the community into doing something to make their lives happier and healthier. And the campaign would take social media and use it to encourage people to get out of the familiar and to experience new things while getting closer to their families and their friends and de-stressing from the realities of life. And this campaign would use a combination of social media and support from local businesses to take advantage of the many amazing public spaces we have here in Cupertino, like Blackberry Farm, Memorial Park, Creekside Park, classes and events at Quinlan or the Senior Center, and all the great space we have in Cupertino to promote a healthier and happier and more balanced Cupertino. Thank you.
Okay, Yo-Yo Wednesday. Yes, please. I love that. That is a great idea. Questions?
So I really like the program, the way it's been set out, but something came to my mind. A colleague at work that's been going through a lot of stress, financial hardship in this area, which is so expensive. Have you guys thought about putting in some sort of services where you're counseling with the people, helping them out, figure out their finances maybe, so that they can then have some time to go and experience the yo-yo yoga?
So at the Senior Center, we have 2 case managers who, if you are 50 or older or you're caring for someone 50 or older, we do help provide not direct counseling for finances, but how to find those services that exist. So I don't think it would be that difficult to put that in place, for people who are either not caring for somebody 50 or older or younger than that.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then also part of the whole idea of the campaign was to be bringing resources together. So for example, just off the top of my head, thanks to this program actually, we were introduced to West Valley Community Services, and out of that, I started volunteering as a financial coach. So we would connect people to these resources that are out there already for them.
Yay, Katie. That's awesome.
Great presentation. I have a question. Do you have to be a Cupertino resident?
We foresee this being not just for Cupertino. We'd like Cupertino to lead the way and inspire the communities around us. I don't see this being exclusive. We didn't foresee that being it being an exclusive program. We'd like to bring people into the city to connect as well. So through social media, that's going to go out universally. While some of the programs in Cupertino are for city residences, our businesses and other programs are for everybody.
Any other questions?
So thank you for the presentation. It's a great presentation. I have a question. In the presentation, it was mostly the proposal and the businesses were food related. during your discussion, has something came up which is non-food related because stress leads to eating. So are there any ideas that came through which were not food related and bring people together and release stress?
Well, definitely we went out to all the businesses that that are in Cupertino. Those were just the ones that were engaged, who wanted more information. We had a lot of interest in it, but definitely all the businesses could be. It doesn't have to be specific to food, but we want to direct something that engages the community and get people together. But any business could be a part of it. It doesn't have to be food.
Any other questions? Okay, I have a question. I'm curious to know, what are the next steps? This sounds like a wonderful idea. I'm wondering if you've had a chance to run this by the PIO for the city, or any of the other recreation staff, because this sounds like a great initiative to get going on.
So the answer is no. This was our grand debut. And so now from here, yes, to Brian. The PIO is present. This was our plan. And so, and the Assistant Director of Recreation and Community Services. So this is when we're sharing it with you guys. And if, interest is there, next steps would be to have a further conversation with you.
Great. Well, message received. Okay, Brian and I will talk. Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute break, and then we'll have group 3. Thank you. That was awesome.
I want to eat apples and bananas. I need to eat apples and bananas. Why can't I eat apples and bananas?
Support the Feeding America nationwide network of food banks to help provide meals to those in need. Join us at feedingamerica.org.
Did you hear about the pony with a sore throat? He was a little horse. Can I tell you a cat joke? Just kidding. Why couldn't the Why was the basketball court all wet? Why? Because the players kept dribbling all over it. Where do cats go on vacation? New York.
They told me a bottle couldn't dream. That I would never become a superhero. But I learned how to fly. Just to come back in a new disguise. And be the hero that I've always wanted to be.
After 15 years of smoking, Eva Marie quit. There's a new lung cancer screening that could save her life. You stopped smoking. Now start screening. Learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Okay, we are back. That was an excellent presentation from Group 2, and I'm excited to hear the next presentation as well. We have Group number 3 that'll be talking about teen stress, identifying challenges, and possible solutions.
Good morning. Thank you all for attending the presentations today.
A member of our team, I am Fred Bach with West Valley Community Services. We have Jeffrey Jair with El Camino Hospital, Claire Vericio with Cupertino Library, and Brian Babcock with the City of Cupertino. 9 months ago, I did not know much about Cupertino. This program gave us a look into the inner workings of the city, the planning and development, public safety, what goes into running a city and governing a city. We were able to tour the library. We even got up close and personal with the trash collection. In my working life, I managed the food pantry for West Valley Community Services, and I thought I understood about stress for some of the area residents. Those stresses for them is more of unstable housing situations and food insecurity, even in one of the most affluent areas in the country. Biggest surprise to me, however, was the people we met with at the local school districts. We toured Lawson Middle School, we toured Cupertino High School, we met with representatives from the Cupertino Union School District and Fremont Union High School District. We met with students, student body leaders, and the Teen Commission. The surprising fact for me was the stress and anxiety that some of the area's students have to deal with day to day. I felt surely students that have a roof over their head and food on the table must not have the worries I assumed were reserved for those less fortunate. It's true the stress factors are different, but stress and anxiety comes in many forms. Instead of questions like, where will we sleep, or where is our next meal coming from, they're replaced by, am I taking the right courses? Am I getting the best grades I can? Will I be able to get into the college I want? Or more importantly, will I be able to get into the college my parents want me to go to? As we heard in the last presentation, residents of Silicon Valley are no strangers to stress. The factors of your career, housing costs, traffic congestion, it could be as emotionally taxing, if not more, than finding a place to sleep or food to eat. For students experiencing these stress factors, the costs are high. The constant worry of succeeding academically, coupled with the normal teenage anxieties of finding your place in the world, learning who you are as a person, and can all pile on with dramatic results. You add in the constant barrage of the 24-hour news cycle and social media, teens in this era have many more challenges than what was present not too long ago. For me, it was an easy choice to join my team members in trying to understand this stress and try to identify a way to help teens. The factors are many and the challenges are great, but hopefully we can play a small part in helping teens have a little less stress in their lives. I'm now going to turn it over to Jeffrey to tell you more about the problems faced, some of the factors that go into creating the situations that bring stress into the lives of our area teenagers.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. As Fred mentioned, my name is Jeffrey Jair, and I work at El Camino Hospital. And it was a pleasure to participate in the Leadership 95014 to just learn about the wonderful things of our city, Cupertino. Cupertino is dear to my heart because as a person who grew up here since birth, I have many, many fond memories of Cupertino. As you see, I went to Faria A+ Elementary School, I went to Kennedy Middle School, and I went to Monte Vista High School. So if you know Cupertino well, I went through stressful times. So because of that, I know what stress that teens are facing in Cupertino right now because I experienced it. But don't get me wrong, stress, as we all know, is a necessity of life. Because stress and life goes together. Stress builds character, stress builds endurance, and stress builds perseverance. But there are stressors that are unnecessary, stressors that are unhealthy, and stressors that are overly demanding. So let's get on in defining teen stress. Teen stress is basically physical and emotional response dealt in events and situations that challenge the teen. Very simple definition, but yet complex issue at its core. This issue is multifaceted where there are many contributors and factors. And so what are some stressors that affect teens nowadays? Well, as you can see, these are just a few stressors that teens face right now. And you can see that one of the stress are grades. And don't get me wrong, grades are necessary. We need to grade our students. But we all know in Cupertino, teens overly emphasize their importance and value in the grades that they get. Because I know that getting an A- is death. Because we need to get A+ if I need to get into UC Berkeley or better colleges. We all know A- is a 3.7 GPA, and we all know we need 4.0 weighted GPA or higher to get into better colleges. And you say, how do we get a GPA 4.0 or higher? Well, that's why teens take a bunch of AP and honor classes. I remember as a teen, I would brag the number of AP classes and honor classes that I took. I took AP Chem, I took AP Bio, AP Computer Science, AP US History, Chem Honors, English Honors, and you know what? Just sprinkle some chamber orchestra into that mix. So no wonder teens are overly stressed because they're taking numerous college-level classes that are burdening them with loads of homework and readings. But we all know that is not enough to get into the college that we want to get into. We need to be involved in extracurricular activities. So the stress that we put, myself, I need to be involved in sports, track and field, basketball, tennis. I need to be involved in arts. I need to be involved in music. I play violin. I play piano. I did CM tests, National Guild Piano exam. It's just loads of things that are bombarding our teens right now. And the parents, parents have something to do with it, but, I understand the parents because they came to Cupertino to put their kids in better schools like Monte Vista, Kennedy, and Faria. And so these things are not bad. It's just the way that we deal with stress that we need to address, because if we don't equip our students of learning how to cope with these stress, how to manage these stress, and how to relieve these stress or eliminate unnecessary, unhealthy stress, it will lead to an unintended consequence. And so what kind of unintended consequence? Well, consequences such as mental, physical health damages, depression, anxiety disorder, panic attacks, insomnia, difficulty sleeping, thoughts of suicide, hopelessness, and low self-esteem. And so I'm sure all this isn't new. We all know this is the type of things that happen. And so my hope is that we find a solution in addressing this issue, maybe teaching teens how to have better coping skills, how to manage the stress, or maybe relieve them of these stress. And so right now I'm going to turn it over to Claire, who will talk to you about the people that we talked to and the research that we've done.
Thank you, Jeff. Good morning. My name is Claire Varesio, and I'm the community librarian at Cupertino Library. And yes, it is not lost on me that the librarian is handling the research portion of this presentation. It's been my privilege to work on this project with my fellow group members and to be a part of leadership. And Fred and Jeff have already given you some excellent information about the stressors and challenges that Cupertino teens are experiencing. I want to provide you with some more background regarding the research we did as part of this project. We wanted to make sure that we talked with our community, both with teens and with those who are working with teens, particularly in schools. We spoke with 4 different groups: Cupertino Union School District, Fremont Union High School District, El Camino Hospital, and the Teen Commission, along with Danny Mestizo, Recreation Coordinator and Staff Liaison for the Teen Commission. Hi, Danny. We wanted to speak with our school districts to better understand the ties between academics and student stress. We wanted to speak with teens themselves, since they are experiencing it. And we wanted to make sure to check in with a mental health professional to understand more about the psychology of teens and stress. Kathy Gomez, the mental health program manager for Cupertino Union School District, provided us with insight on our younger students and how academic stress affects Cupertino children from a very young age. She observed that the level of student stress has been increasing over the past several years and that there are a number of contributing factors. Yes, our students place high expectations on themselves in terms of what they can achieve, but there is also societal pressure to get into a good college, pressures that are caused by technology and social media, and pressures from families, many of whom have immigrated to this area and are under stress themselves, whether financially or in their careers. Most importantly, what Kathy shared was that she feels that there are solutions: educating parents, helping children learn skills for resiliency, and backing off from the expectations that students must get into certain colleges. We also spoke with Trudy Gross, Assistant Superintendent for Fremont Union High School District and past leadership graduate. She provided us background on what FUHSD is already doing to address student stress through their wellness task force. This group is looking at student sleep deprivation, mental wellness, and social emotional health. They have spoken with students, educators, and parents, and are working on creating processes and partnerships that will set students up for success. Next school year, all FUHSD schools will start later at 8 a.m., and they are partnering with community organizations that can help promote student wellness. The district is doing great work. Trudy also discussed the importance of messaging and helping students see reflected around them the value of appreciating yourself as a whole person. Lauren Olays, Community Mental Health Relations Coordinator for El Camino Hospital, provided background on resources that are available to students and families. There is help for those who are experiencing stress, and there are solutions. While mental health conditions are common, what is also important is that treatment works. Stigma and shame are reasons people do not seek treatment, and sometimes it is hard to identify the right resources to help. It is important for the community to learn to spot individuals who need help and to advocate for the importance of mental health care. Lastly, we spoke with Danny Mestizo in the Teen Commission. Danny is passionate about working with teens, and he helped inspire our proposed project. But of all the individuals we spoke with, the Teen Commission provided the most insight. They had many ideas for how we could help solve their stress. But what was interesting was that they also readily acknowledged that they are stressed. They clearly articulated the challenges they face, from the pressures they put on themselves to those placed on them by peers, family, and society. They noted that their parents understand they are stressed, but don't know why and don't know how to help. They said parents communicate with other parents, often online, and create stressful expectations for teens. They also noted a stigma around going to community college and the feeling that what college you attended was seen as a status symbol. And perhaps most importantly, they shared that any proposed solution to their stress that offered free food and extra credit would be embraced. They were a great group, and we thank them for their input. So now I'd like to turn it over to Brian, who will be introducing you to our proposed project. Thank you.
All right, good morning, everyone. So after all the research that we did, the discussions that we had, we realized right away, unfortunately, that we were not going to be able to cure teen stress. So Nobel Prize for us, but we didn't want to walk away and do nothing. What we learned through this process was that we needed to think about the teens and their parents. Teen stress is an incredibly complicated issue, as you've heard today, and I'm sure you've witnessed in your own lives. There are many pressures that come into play, and we know that teens and parents collectively are just trying to do their best and succeed in their roles. We know that teens are just trying to be good children for their parents, kids that their parents can be proud of, as well as be exceptional students, so we'll get into that great college so they can have a great career. We also know that parents are just trying to be good providers and advisors and give their children what they need and give their very best so that their children can thrive into adulthood. So what we know is that teens need a breather from time to time. And that actually became incredibly clear when we went and spoke with the Teen Commission, because when we asked, okay, hey, you know, we're thinking about maybe an event would be really nice for you guys. One student raised their hand and said, oh yes, great, an event. Can we all come study together? So What we were thinking, though, is to provide an open mic night. And now when we gave them this idea, the Teen Commission was actually kind of thrown back by it. They were like, what's an open mic night? So obviously the name would change, but the idea would pretty much stay the same. It would be one day, probably on a Saturday or such, where we would give the kids a few hours to come into a place like Community Hall, where they could come and they could do, read poetry, they could maybe read a short story that they wrote, they could come up and play the guitar, or they could, violin, or they could dance. Maybe they could even, come up knowing this community, and they could come up and say, hey, let me show you this complicated math problem that I just solved, right? Some code that I just created. What we could, and then today I want to thank the other groups, because now we have other great ideas we can add to this. I'm definitely going to look at bringing in some therapy dogs, and we'll make sure that the teens hashtag balance Cupertino, hashtag no more teen stress. So now, at the same time, and we literally mean at the same time, we want to host an event for the parents. We know that there's this community, the great thing about them is that parents and the kids are very connected. And so when we have the kids being dropped off, let's say here in Community Hall, we would usher the parents over to, whether it be maybe the library or our EOC in City Hall, to have a panel discussion set for them. There we would have experts to talk about teen stress, so maybe that we talked a little bit about it, mental health advisors, maybe authors who have written about teen stress, teachers or administrators, those who are working with teens and stress on a day-to-day basis. So in the end, what we want to do is just ensure that the kids have something to to give them a breather, while also maybe making sure that this is a conversation piece for the kids and the parents when they go home. Obviously, this is something that needs to continue. I think it's obviously very important because really all three of our presentations today focused on stress. It's just very, very prevalent in our communities these days, and particularly with our teens in this area. The one thing I'm proud, and we're proud actually to say before we walk away, is these events actually will be happening in the fall. Now, as we move forward, they may end up looking a little bit different as we have more conversations, do a little bit more research, and define what they're going to look like. But with the support of our Mayor, Darcy Paul, we will definitely ensure that we will have a teen stress weekend. So I just want to let you all know about that. Thank you for your time today, and we appreciate you listening to us.
Wow, that was great. Does anybody have any questions or comments? Okay.
Thank you. This is for Jeff. Jeff, being a lifetime resident of Cupertino and having to come up through the school system that tops the nation, did you indeed endure some of the stresses that were identified here? And if so, how did you deal with those? And if not, why was it different?
Thank you for your question. So as a person who's been through the Cupertino school system, as I said, these aren't AP classes, honor classes, extracurricular activities are not the problem. It's really having the skills to manage the stress, coping with the stress, and identifying resources to eliminate the unnecessary stressors in life that will make the difference. And so for me, I'm very fortunate to have a very strong social support group, whether it's family or friends. But I do know that there are teens that do not have those kind of strong social support. And so it is because of my strong social support that allow me to relieve, that allow me to seek advice, that allow me to develop encouragement and the skills to deal with these enormous stress. And so that's how I dealt with it.
And can those be modeled in some way to be more available to? I understand that the social media pressure on young kids is maybe a little bit more than what it was earlier. It gets worse as time goes on. But are there things that work for you that can be modeled for the teens today?
There's not one solution that fits all. I mean, that's why, as we all said, this is a very complex issue, and it is an issue that needs to be tackled in multiple fronts. What we're doing right now is just a small stepping stone in hopefully building awareness, maybe to the teachers, to the parents, and to the families, and hopefully making this issue more easily talked about, because we do know that this is an issue that is kind of taboo to talk in front of kids, to talk in front of parents. And so we want to take the forefront to bring this issue and hopefully make a difference in a small way that can turn into a big change.
Any other questions or comments? I love the presentation. I just wanted to share a story. My husband is an 8th grade teacher, and this past week, one of his students, who is a straight A student, shared with him that her father had said that she was a disappointment because she did not get into one of the prestigious Bay Area private high schools. So this is an 8th grader. She came to my husband, I think, because she felt that she could confide in him, and she asked him, "Do you think I'm a loser?" When he shared the story with me, I was like, wow, an 8th grader to feel that sort of pressure and to have her own parents say that to her. So this is definitely living large. This is just not stuff we're kind of hearing about out there. This is going on. So I was so glad to hear the piece about the parent education, because I feel like that's critical. I know as a parent at Homestead High School, I attended the showing of A Race to Nowhere, and I was shocked by how few people showed up. And if you haven't seen that, I recommend that you view that. And that talks about this increased pressure for students to perform, and it really talks about how, really there's kind of a level playing field when you get to a certain grade level, and parents stress that the importance of education, which it is important, but really at the end, there's different paths to get there, right? Not everybody has to take that same path. So I appreciate that piece. I think that was great.
Just one comment. I've been living in this community and working in this community for the past 25 years, and I noticed that whenever we go to homes in Cupertino that have kids in the Cupertino schools, we never get to see the kids. They're always busy doing their homework, or they're taking care of some projects for the school, and they're pretty much stressed. And also my work, close to my work, is a training school for teenagers, and we noticed that these kids not only have to attend school, they also have to attend these extra classes. They have to attend numerous AP coursework, and it is the parents try to force this upon the kids, trying to push them to the point where they almost break. I once experienced seeing a father berating his child, who was probably 15, 16 years old, right in front of my office. I couldn't understand what they were saying, but the kids started getting redder and redder in the face, and then finally the father talked about his studies. So I think it's important for the community and for the parents to let their kids know that it's okay to be human. It's okay to go play soccer. It's okay to go hang out with your friends. It's okay to take a break from your studies, because everything, the community together, you need a village to bring up kids. It's not just your mom and your dad. More to the point, I attended the Cupertino Volunteers Fair this last weekend, and a lot of the parents came around and they were looking for opportunities for their kids to volunteer in, because in order to get into these colleges, the kids have to show volunteer hours. And so at the last mayor's meeting for the commissioners, we brought up this point that if we could have a page on our Cupertino website showing the different organizations that the kids can volunteer at, that would help them out a whole bunch. They can just go in there and contact the organization and then volunteer. It's being able to provide different sources for these kids and for their parents that will make their lives a little easier. I think at the end of the day, that will make this community a better place to live in. Thanks.
So I appreciate your focus on this topic as my kids went through middle school and high school and then on to college. We saw all the stresses on our kids, and it's devastating, right? Even the best students, as was pointed out, are under pressure. Sometimes it's just from their peers. Parents are fine, right? Many parents actually are not the pressure creators. There's a lot of peer pressure as well. And what I've noticed is, so I've been a scoutmaster, among other things, and what I've noticed is the kids that end up healthiest by the time they get to the end of high school have a sense of purpose that goes beyond themselves and their academic achievements. So my idea for you would be, could we take the summer off? Could you think about maybe not taking that summer class and thinking about the things that enrich your life to make you a whole person by the time you get to the end of high school? Have you been out and experienced nature? So, one of the great things CUSD does is takes the kids to Yosemite for a week, right? In 8th grade. So I was a chaperone. I was startled because of this group of 30 kids. None of them had ever been on cross-country skis before. All but 3 of them had never been up a windy mountain trail. So we went up Yosemite Falls. About halfway it was icy, right? Snowy. But I think if kids growing up participate in communities other than that school community, whether it's their church or their scouting group, or maybe they really bond with a few kids they go through with and do soccer, whatever it is, I think they need communities besides the academic community. And I'd love to see some kind of campaign that says just take the summer off and learn things that make you a whole person. Those things that allow you to interact with people, with nature, and get a sense of you beyond yourself and beyond those incredible expectations that you have for what you have to do academically. Because you may wake up at 35 and find yourself in a career that you didn't design, that you're not happy with, and what are you doing all this for, right? So thank you for your efforts on this.
So this is Meenakshi Biani. I'm Park and Rec Commissioner, parent of a Cupertino High School student, and a college-going child. So teen stress is very visible to us as a parent. I would like to kind of tie in the 2 projects that were put together today, the Teen Stress and Balance Cupertino, where we can promote and ask businesses to provide space for teens, where they can come and hang out. Currently, I see there's no, teen center is not very well attended, but places where teens can come, device-free, hang out, discuss, and away from their projects, subject, social media, and just be teens. It would be great if 2 projects came together and promote that kind of space, because there's nothing in Cupertino where the kids' library space is limited. They only come to the library where they have joint projects, group projects to do. So a free space where they have no studies to think about.
Okay. I would like to mention that the Teen Center is a free space. And for those of you that may know of teens and may not be aware of the Teen Center, it is available. It's right across the street from De Anza College, and it's a place that they can hang out. We're striving to get the word out on that because I think it's an amazing amenity. Any other questions, comments? Okay, thank you so much for this awesome presentation. We will be taking about a 10-minute break until 11:55, at which time we will be distributing the certificates of completion for the Leadership 95014 program. So we ask that you stick around. There's still plenty of goodies, and we'll resume here in about 10 minutes. Thank you.
Maria, so how's work?
It was fourth period biology. Our students just weren't getting how easily viruses spread. So Ms. Bell and I had them role play a zombie virus outbreak. By the time they had all learned the lesson, all the living were dead. Hey, how's your job going?
That big sales meeting I planned? Next year, I might get to go.
Cool.
When they test you, stand firm and move only when you hear the seatbelt click that says they're buckled in for the drive. Never give up till they buckle up.
Observe a domesticated human family in their natural habitat, known to their species as the backyard.
Hey, you think I should light it now? Yeah.
Oh dear, someone is about to burn a pile of debris that's too tall, which can start a wildfire. Wait, could it be? Blimey, it is.
It's Smokey.
It's Smokey Bear. What a legend.
Hey, it's Smokey. Sorry, it was too high. Right.
Watch as he astutely ensures that there's no wind, and how he removes some of the debris to create a smaller, safer burning pile.
You said make it bigger, baby. The bigger the better.
Take note of our fearless furry friend here, humans.
I appreciate it. Fist bump.
Watching you.
Smokey's done it again.
Bye, Smokey.
Only you can prevent wildfires.
What to expect when you're expecting a teenager.
Today we're talking about how to wake up your teen, and this works literally every time.
Give kisses. Give kisses. You heard how loud
I heard. It wasn't you. It was the...
Is that bacon?
You don't have to know it all to be a perfect parent. Thousands of teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Oh, emojis! I thought the conversation just got dumber.
Ugh, internet trolls, just ignore them.
I like you just the way you are.
I believe in you!
She's a hugger. Give her a squeeze.
Help up the hand!
Ah, there you go. Thanks, mate.
You're killing it, Jane!
Or that the projections would be earthquake next Thursday?
I can't do Thursday, but I can do Friday.
Disasters don't plan ahead. You can. Talk to your loved ones about how you're going to be ready in an emergency.
Okay, if you thought that was a quick 10-minute break, you were right. It was only a 5-minute break. I lied. We wanted to go ahead and resume the program. And before I do that, I just want to reiterate the agencies that have been so supportive and helpful in putting together this program. As you may or may not know, there was an original planning committee, and on that planning committee, we had a number of community members that got together about 9-10 years ago, I think, when we started the process of putting together Leadership 95014. And at that time, we had some representatives that were on the planning committee from various agencies. And those folks have continued to be very, very supportive. Some of the original planning committee members are no longer, or aren't here today, or maybe they just aren't taking part. Some of them have actually retired and moved on to other things. But I did want to acknowledge the partners that continue to send employees to this program year after year, and I appreciate that support. Santa Clara County Sheriff's Office has been a huge support. Of course, the City of Cupertino. West Valley Community Services every year sends one of their employees, along with the school districts, Cupertino Union School District, El Camino Hospital, Recology, and we have a whole table of support back there. I appreciate that. John Zarelli and his gang every year are very helpful. We have also the Santa Clara County Library District, which we are very thankful for as well. And I think I may have missed the Santa Clara County Fire Department. So thank you to all those agencies. There have been others throughout the years, but we really appreciate the ongoing support. Once again, here in about another month, I think, right, Molly, we'll begin recruiting for next year's program. So really the best way to get the word out is through word of mouth. So if you can go back and speak with your coworkers, your friends, your neighbors, your fellow commissioners, please spread the word. We want to be able to keep this program going. I think there's, as we've seen today, there's tremendous value to continuing to offer this program each year. And I love the fact that the alumni stay in touch. And I think, and that's what I keep hearing about this program, is the value of the connections that we make with one another, the friendships. Many of you that I see still to this day, it may have been several years, we see each other, we hug, we're happy to see one another, and I want to be able to continue that spirit of friendship. So please, when you leave here today, spread the word about the program. We'll again be following the same format for the most part. We'll be getting together here, I think, in Molly and I and Min, and we'll probably be making some minor tweaks, but for the most part, it's the same format. So it will start again in September, and it will go through mid-May. So be on the lookout. We'll be posting some information online very shortly. I would like to acknowledge our mayor, Darcy Paul, is here today, and he will be assisting us when it's time here in the next few minutes. Thank you. And he's a graduate of the program. See, so that's great. Thank you. And we also have Councilmember Rod Sinks here as well. Thank you for attending today. We always appreciate your support. Min, are we ready to do this? Okay. So what will happen is Min and the mayor, I think, is going to come up here today. We'll be distributing the certificates. I'll do my part to be the secretary and organize them for you. And then I think, do we have photos? Do we have an opportunity to take photos? I don't know if we'll see if we can work on that. Okay.
So you've seen them this morning, and you've seen the passion and the expertise they put into their projects and how they showed up in the presentation with care, with passion, with humor. You've seen a little bit of their personality show through here. You know, none of them showed any anxiety or nervousness, which several of them confessed to me earlier this morning. They did a great job. And so this project culminated their work in 9 months. And now I just want to give you a little bit more information on each person as we bring them up personally, individually, and give them the certificate of graduation. So we're going to start with Richard Alanis. What we know about Richard is that he aims to be a good husband, father, and a good friend. He wants to help people and defend what is good in his life's journey. And Min, do you want to hold on one side? Yeah, why not? Why don't we do this? Is there anyone to take pictures? Hold the one from the city. Yeah. Thank you. Oh, we're going to do this. So we're going to ask Brian to come up next. So Fred, maybe you could do the picture for Brian. Brian is curious, creative, and open to new things. He chooses giving over taking, deviation over direction, and love over hate. Every day he aims to be a better person. This is Brian. And of course, Fred is next. So hand that phone back over to Brian. Fred wants to live the best life possible and to be the best person that he can be. To do so, he accepts the past, to learn from it, and face future challenges with more confidence. So I would like you to meet Laurel Henderson. Laurel is a devoted mom, wife, friend, and family is central to her being. She wants to have a positive and balanced outlook, to appreciate her relationships, enjoy the present moment, and focus on what is within her control to make a positive difference. Next, please meet Jeffrey Jare. Jeffrey appreciates the support from his large and loving circle of family members and friends, and grateful for the blessings of God in living his life to the fullest. He commits to bettering himself so that he can help others. Ari Latanzi. Ari has a profound commitment to communities, ecosystems, and the planet, and is proactive about learning, hoping, dreaming, and inspiring others to foster positive change in the world. A caring and ethical leader, Ari is going places. Joe Leva. Joe Joe has set his goal to continuously challenge himself, to learn and grow, and to uplift and empower others around him, regardless of whether the situations are personal or professional, positive or negative. Look for Joe to bring people together to better achieve worthwhile goals. Jamie McAvoy. Jamie has a very straightforward philosophy. Life is short, laugh often, love all you can, and live out loud. Rob McCoy. True success for Rob is to be loved by his family and friends, and to be remembered in a positive light by all he encounters on his journey. Look for this devoted leader to continue to work hard to make a positive difference in our lives. Katie Nomura.
Did we skip Stephen Lopez?
No, he's still. Yeah. Katie has a calling to be all that she can be by seeking the good in every circumstance, sharing all the love she can give, and leaving the world a little better than when she came into it. Casey Piedad. Casey makes us all proud by embracing the leadership commitment to love, power, and truth. Love for the less fortunate, power to stand up for what is right, and always truthful to everyone. She balances it all by not being too hard on herself and by keeping a good sense of humor. Adriana Stankovic. Adriana became a mom during the course of this program, and we can all see that she's a very devoted and loving mother for her daughter. She's passionate about helping people and balancing that commitment with her ability to have fun in life, enjoying her family members and friends, and the determination not to let the challenging things in the world consume her life. So I got out of sequence, and I'm now only getting to Stephen Lopez. Stephen follows a calling to serve people in need and protect them from harm. He wants to make people's lives better, including those he doesn't even know. He works hard to see and believe in the good in people, even as they're seen to do bad things. And last but not least, Claire Vericio. Claire has a simple wish for us. She just wants to leave the world a little bit more beautiful for having been in it. To be true to herself, to appreciate and enjoy what she has, to be kind to others, to love and support her family, and to be a good steward of the earth. That's it. Thank you very much. You're all graduates now.
Okay, and with that, our program has concluded. I would like to thank the mayor today. If you noticed, each of the participants received a proclamation from the mayor, which was very nice. Thank you for doing that, in addition to their certificate. So thank you all. We hope you have a wonderful day. And again, spread the word about Leadership 95014. Thank you all.
So I love you, I love you, la 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 la, la 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 la.
We're here.
Yay!
It's a short drive from your neighborhood to your naturehood. To find a neighborhood park or green space near you, visit discovertheforest.org.